Let's call to order the Monday, March 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Ellettsville Town Council. Chief Corman, if you do the pledge.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't see the marshal on here. Who would like to do prayer?
I'll do it.
Okay, Pam.
Okay. Father, we come to you and we thank you for bringing us all here together safely. And I ask you to keep a hedge of protection around Ellettsville and all the people in it. And Lord, keep your hand on this town council tonight as we make the decision for our town. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amber, roll call, please.
Scott Oldham.
Here.
Pamela Samples.
Here.
William Ellis.
Here.
Trevor Sager.
Here.
Dan Swafford.
Here. Approval of the minutes for the regular meeting, March 8th, 2021.
So moved.
Okay, motion in several seconds.
Yeah.
Amber, take your pick whenever you're ready, please.
Scott Oldham.
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
William Ellis.
Yes.
Trevor Sager.
Yes.
Dan Swafford.
Yes.
Action to pay accounts payable, vouchers, and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Amber, please.
Scott Oldham.
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
William Ellis.
Yes.
Trevor Sager.
Yes. Dan
Swafford.
Yes.
Now we'll be opening several bids, amongst which is a 1997 Ford F-250 4x4 with a dump bed and a Western snowplow.
There are 5 bids for the Ford F-250.
Darla, should we have some music or something while you're opening these envelopes?
Absolutely. Michael Stallcup bids $22.50. Mackey Properties bids $2,000. Matt Carter of Mackey Properties bids $2,000. Dylan Plummer bids $2,007.77. Doug Robertson bids $2,059. And the last one is from Donna Burris, who bids $1,735.27. So the highest bid is Michael Stallcup's bid for $22.50. Would the council like to make a motion to accept that bid from Michael Stallcup for $22.50 for the Ford F-250?
Motion from the council.
I'll make a motion to approve the bid of $22.50 from Michael Stallcup for the 1997 Ford F-250.
Is there a second?
Second.
Amber, please.
Scott Oldham.
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
William Ellis.
Yes.
Trevor Sager.
Yes.
Dan Swafford.
Yes.
Moving on now to the 1987 John Deere 310C front bucket.
There were 6 bids received for this item. First is from Jim Davis for $2,650. Second is from Kevin Patton for $1,120. Third is from Doug Robertson for $3,159. The next one is from Jerry Hobbs for $476.76. The next one is Mike Richardson's bid for $1,600. And the last one is from Michael Stallcup, $3,550, which is the highest bid. So would the council like to make a motion to accept Michael Stallcup's bid for $3,550 on the John Deere backhoe?
I'll make a motion to accept the bid from Mike Stockup for $3,550 on the 1987 John Deere.
I'll second.
Motion second. Amber, please.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Moving now to the 1987 Shelby Co. 24 feet dovetail trailer.
We've received one bid. Jerry Hobbs bid $200.
This item did have a reserve on it when we put the bid out. It was 2,000.
What's the council's pleasure? Do you want to run the ad again or?
Discussion from the council? I mean, clearly we didn't make the reserve.
Yeah, run the ad again and lower the reserve, or how do you want to handle it?
I'm good with-
What about putting it on eBay or something?
I'd have to check the statute. I think you can use eBay as long as it's a public bidding site, but isn't there something that is sponsored by the state for surplus equipment for municipalities that the State Board of Accounts recommends that you use as their website for that?
I don't think it's sponsored by the state, but a lot of the state agencies are involved in it.
Yeah.
No, IU goes that route as well.
Well, I can look at that for you, but I guess, are you leaning toward rejecting the bid and advertising it some other way? Since it didn't meet the reserve?
Well, maybe we should handle this in two parts. Does the council want to reject the bid? If so, we need a motion for that as non-responsive to the reserve.
I'm good with rejecting it. What are you guys thinking?
Yes.
Fine.
So we probably should have a formal motion to reject that bid as not meeting the reserve.
Okay. I'll make a motion to reject the bid on the 1987 Shelby Co. dovetail trailer due to the fact that it did not make the reserve.
Second.
Motion is second. Amber?
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
So now what's the pleasure of the council in terms of how we continue forward? Do you want to relist it? Do you want to look at the surplus website? Do you want to run it with eBay? What's the pleasure?
I think if we looked at that website would be fine. I just think we just need a bigger market and we'd probably sell it.
Agreed.
I think the only thing with the website, and I don't remember how that one necessarily functions, is it's got to be picked up locally. We don't ship anywhere.
Sure.
Darla, do you want a formal motion in that regard? Or do you want to bring something back to us since we're not exactly sure what's going on with that?
Let me look at it and I'll bring something back to you for the next meeting on that one.
Perfect. Let's move on now to the 1997 Ford Vectra 2100 Series 8.3 Cummins diesel listed as surplus. There are bids on this as well.
We received one bid on this. And it is from Kevin Leonard at Reveal Underground Services in Hickory, Kentucky, and they bid $51,000.
Amber, did that make the reserve?
It did not. It was 65,000.
Okay. Does the council want to go through this, or do we want to reject it again based upon the same factors as before?
Well, on this one, it sounds like we had an out-of-state one, so we must have cast a pretty wide net. I mean, if I'm not sure what the value is, but I'm inclined to accept it.
You're right, William. We did. And in fact, where we bought our equipment, that will be the new Vector, they helped us advertise it. There was a lot of word of mouth, and we thought we was going to have some local people interested in it. It was a suggested price at $65,000. And in fact, as a trade-in, they were only going to give us like $40,000. And obviously they wanted to protect being able to sell it and make a profit. But we did cast a pretty wide net. And I agree that the $51,000 is acceptable to the utility staff.
I'm also guessing too, there's not too many people out there that need a Vectra. You're going to have a limited audience or a limited pool of people who are going to be interested in that as opposed to a trailer. So.
Well, I guess my question is this, and just from the abject fairness of it, are we going to start picking and choosing what we reject? If we put a reserve on it to begin with, there was a reason it was there. I mean, it would seem unfair to reject one, but accept the other.
Well, my basis is we're rejecting the other one because we need to cast a wider net. This one, that wider net was already cast.
Okay.
So if the next one, we cast that wider net and it comes in below reserve, I would probably vote to accept it.
I agree with you, Scott. I mean, I
would point out that these reserves were a guesstimate about what it should be. Ooh, having problems with my phone. Can anybody hear me?
Yes. We
Yeah.
can.
Okay, so anyway, you know, it was a guesstimate, and it was our best assessment based on what other people had told us. And so everything's only worth what somebody will give for it. And under the circumstances, a large piece of equipment, we don't want it sitting around forever. I'd be good with selling it. I mean, it's not what we wanted, but I think it's a 1997 piece of equipment we bought for $167,000. So we're getting like 30% back out of it. And we have put, at least $250,000 to $500,000 feet a year in work out of it. So I'm good with it.
Okay. What's the council's pleasure here?
Well, you know, I was going to say too, I agree with you, Scott. I don't like picking and choosing one and not the other. I do understand there's different circumstances for this, but I do feel a little uneasy to denying one when we set both reserves. So that's my opinion.
I agree.
I think I'm going with William on this. I think we take what we can get and move on.
All right. Does someone have a motion one way or the other?
I'll make a motion to accept the bid of $51,000.
Second.
Motion second. Amber, please.
Scott Oldham,
Regretfully, no.
Pam Samples,
No.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Dan Swafford.
I'm gonna have to stick with no. I hate to do it, but it's just a matter of principle for me. So no, but Mike, I would like to ask you, or Darla, can we reach out to these people and see if they would, because they're pretty close, would they meet our reserve price on this? And can we do that and give them first choice of it?
Well, I think you've already advertised, I think you've already advertised the reserve bid, so I'm not sure that reaching out to them is going to help. I think if they want to rebid, when you re-advertise it, my suggestion would be that you lower the reserve and see what happens.
Yeah, I understand. I'm good with that because you're right. They were aware of the reserve. So,
Okay, so there needs to be another motion because it didn't pass. The motion, the specific motion was to accept it and that didn't pass. So now is there an alternative motion from the side that voted to reject it? Just to keep the record clear.
I move we reject the bid for the Vector truck due to not meeting its reserve. Is that good enough?
Yes, thank you.
I'll second that. Amber, when you're ready.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
Pam Samples,
Yes.
William Ellis,
No.
Trevor Sager,
No.
Dan Swafford.
Yes.
So now is there a motion to re-advertise and lower the reserve, or how do you want to handle this one?
Well, I think I'll make a motion to relist the Vector truck, lower the reserve down to 51,000.
Can't tell them what the reserve is, though.
No, I thought we did advertise the reserve.
We did. We
Okay,
told,
yeah.
did tell him, but
Yeah,
it's probably higher than 51 because,
right. They bid that. So let's say 52,000. Or you know what? I'll withdraw my motion and let the council discuss this for a minute. What do you got?
I don't know what we would, I mean, an open market, we had a $51,000 offer. And if we put it lower than that, person to bid, it's gonna be like, why the heck didn't I get it? But they can just bid with the lower reserve. If we put it higher, I mean, that could be kind of seen in a positive way as us negotiating. I mean, I put 53, I don't know, but I don't know really what these are worth if we're lucky to get 51 out of it. I don't know. But I'd be inclined for 53 if we're going to re-advertise it. But are we going to, Mike, will they still help us re-advertise this at the new price? Or because we cast a pretty wide net last time, if we're not casting as wide of a net, we may not even get what we got last time.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm sure the company that helped put out the word would do whatever they can for us. We could put it on the state website like we did the trailer and try that avenue as well and just see what we get.
Let's do that. What if we don't put a reserve?
You could get $20 for
Well,
it.
I think,
True.
yeah, I think it's wise to just put the reserve at the last offer. And then if somebody wants to pay more, knowing that there's somebody already out there that would give 51,000 for it, then maybe, maybe we'll realize some extra money out of the machine. But I would just put the reserve at that bid and see what happens. And like I said, maybe put it on the state website, word of mouth.
And what was, I kind of missed it. What was, can we reach out?
No.
You're breaking up, Mike.
The bid, and we'll go from there.
Hey, now, were we able to reach out to the person that bid 51 and tell them that mainly we have to do this, but if they want to rebid again, they're more than welcome to. It's the reserve. Well, we can't say it's a reserve, but they're welcome to put in a bid again because.
How about we do this, if I can suggest? Let's authorize them to relist it where they feel appropriate with the reserve that Mike feels is appropriate. It's his piece of equipment, his bailiwick, and let it play out as is, but let's aim for a short cycle. So if this person does want to rebid, they're out 2 weeks. They're not out much beyond that. Is that doable?
Yeah. I got one other quick question, Scott. I think that sounds fine. Are we sure that they knew the reserve price? Because why would they bid under the reserve, knowing that it would not make it?
That's a good question. I wrote the ad and I wasn't the ad in the paper. I thought it was in the paper on a
Yes.
Saturday. Oh, yeah, it was in the ad. And I know technically for an auctioneer, there is a difference between reserve bid and minimum bid, but I think either one gets us, to where you want to be. So, but yeah, it was in the ad and the ad was in the paper. So
It's very curious why they even submitted a bid then. So,
Well, because it may have been word of mouth and they didn't know what the reserve was.
right, that's what I was thinking too. So, but
In
I'm
addition to
fine with your
that,
mo-
they may have thought we would take it if no other offers. I mean,
yeah.
the worst they can do is ask.
And guys, don't get me wrong. I would love to take it, but the equity of it just seems particularly stark considering we just rejected a bid that was under, for the exact reason it was under reserve.
Right.
How would you guys like to proceed?
Scott, if we relist, are we going to the up it? I mean, above 51 still though, just not as high as it was?
Again,
Because, if we do it at 51, it seems like then we should just go ahead and give it to the guy if we're going to still list it for what he offers. So could we go up just a little bit? 52 maybe?
I know nothing of this piece of equipment or its value. Again, that's, Mike, both as the town manager and, his overall familiarity with the entire piece of equipment. I would kind of, bow to his wisdom on this and let him set it wherever he feels appropriate, whether that's at the 51,000 or above. That's, again, I really hate to speak to it because I don't know a thing about this truck other than what it looks like.
Here's the problem. It's a 1997 machine. The technology has went from single stage pumps to dual stage pumps. And so on one side, it's a very old piece of machinery. And so everybody be a little skittish about it. On the other side of the coin is it's very well kept. We've put some money into it over the years. It's got a lot of new components on it. So it does have the worth, but it is a 1997 single stage pump and fan. And so everybody's going to be hesitant to give a whole lot for it. We used the 65,000 as a reserve at the suggestion of the Vactor people, but I mean, we just didn't get any takers. So
Mike,
Yeah.
Are you worried we're going to not get the 51 if we reoffer this?
no, I'm not worried about it. I mean,
Okay.
we are in a position where we can set on this machine and work it a little harder, a little farther, and it has a vac machine on it as well, so it can be utilized for potholing, and which is for so you can find the other lines when you're digging, and so the machine has worth, and so let's just not get in a hurry, and we'll try to sell it harder.
Well, I don't, my suggestion would be you set the minimum bid at 60. Come down $5,000 and see what happens.
Council, thoughts?
Fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm fine. Go ahead.
See, I'm just thinking if we don't know what it's worth, or I don't, but anyway, I'm just thinking if we set it at 51, that kind of looks odd that we set it for 51, but a guy offer is 51 and we're not taking it. That's why I think we should at least go up.
So does someone on the council want to make a motion with whatever figure they have in mind?
I don't know.
I'll go ahead and make a motion. Mike, was it you that said set it at 60,000, or Darla, whoever?
It
I
was,
think, go ahead.
that was just just a suggestion.
Right. Okay, I move we relist the Vector truck, and I don't know the details, and put a reserve bid on it for 60,000.
There's a second.
I'll make a second.
Okay, motion and a second. Amber?
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
Pam Samples,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Dan Swafford.
Yes.
Okay. I need to go back because accidentally I skipped Mr. Rary in the Ellettsville Chamber of Commerce with Envision Ellettsville. So my apologies, Dan. I'm sorry to make you wait.
Oh, that's all right. This was interesting to observe this. Almost like going to an auction.
Almost.
Well, my name's Dan Rary, and I've been a realtor in Monroe and the surrounding counties for over 50 years. But tonight, I'm here representing the Envision Ellettsville project, and I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Envision Ellettsville is a collaborative project sponsored by the Greater Ellettsville Area Chamber of Commerce and Ellettsville Main Street. And I'm on the board of directors of both organizations, and I'm the fundraising chair for the project. I don't know how to pass the hat on a Zoom meeting, so we'll skip the fundraising part. I know that most of you are familiar with the Envision Ellettsville project, but I thought I'd give just a brief summary for those in the audience that may not be. I simply want to make folks aware of the project and give a brief description of what we're doing. This all started with a meeting seminar with Tina Peterson. She's with the Office of Community and Rural Affairs, and she met with local business, school, political, and community leaders for a visioning workshop at the Ellettsville branch of the Monroe County Public Library right before COVID came along. And COVID kind of held us up for about a year. And so we're reinstituting this and getting it kicked off a little bit late, but we felt like we didn't have any choice but to kind of shelve it during the pandemic. This was born out of an interest in and enthusiasm for our town. Ellettsville is now the fastest growing area in Monroe County. Envision Ellettsville is going to help develop a shared vision for our community that provides direction for how we grow and develop our community. We also want to help spread the word to possible businesses and communities and companies who might be interested in locating here or who we can interest in locating here. We have a wonderful town with a great hometown feel, a terrific school system, an efficient town government, and well-run departments. We have a growing park system, trail system, youth sports leagues, and we just desire to make our fantastic little community even better and, to the point, more well-known. We applied for and were awarded a $30,000 community impact grant through the Community Foundation. And that was extremely helpful to get this project off the ground. We now what we have to do is to match those funds. So we next need to raise matching funds for the entirety of the project. And we now have a paid project manager with community development experience to keep the project on target. And we have a dedicated group of volunteers. We're in the process of identifying a qualified partner to lead the community input and research part of the visioning process. When that firm is hired, we will start getting input from all segments of the town through surveys and workshops with key community organizations, businesses, the town government, the planning department, and current residents. We have identified financial partners and are in the process of printing brochures and are collecting ideas for web and social media presence. We will be publicly kicking off the project in earnest very soon. So to summarize, Envision Ellettsville is a community project creating a shared vision for the future of Ellettsville, developed with broad community input to guide how our town continues to grow and develop into a place where businesses and residents thrive and prosper. Anyone who has any questions about or interest in the project can contact me for more information. And I want to thank you for allowing me to speak with you this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. I very much appreciate it. And again, my apologies for skipping over you.
Well, that's okay.
Anyone have questions for Mr. Rary? Okay, seeing none again, thank you very much for you and the entire crew taking care of Envision Ellettsville, because it's going to mean a world of difference in the long run. It really is.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on now. There are no resolutions. There are several ordinances under first reading. So the first reading tonight is ordinance 21-05 to amend section 36.197 of the Ellettsville Town Code.
Thank you. This is Fire Chief Mike Kornman. The town personnel policy is divided into three specific areas, one for everyone, and some parts of that is for the general employees. And there's two parts, one for the police and one for the fire for specific situations. And one of the things that is a concern with the fire department is the minimum amount of hours a part-time firefighter needs to work. We do spend a lot of time and effort on the personal protective equipment, as well as getting health physicals for the people who work for us. And over the years, we've always had quite a few people kind of lined up to be, as needed, as they say, PRN. And it's changed a lot over the last couple of years. And I anticipate the workforce development issues of lack of part-time or lack of expectations of the part-time to be greater in the future. And I want to tighten this up a little bit by putting a minimum amount of hours that a person has to work. There are other agencies across the state that use the same method for an active volunteer department or with a part-time. And what I'm looking for is to amend the town code just for the fire department section under work week hours and under regular part-time, that they have to do a minimum of 24 hours a month. That's what I'm looking for. And we had discussed this at the supervisors meeting, and I did ask for the blessing of each of the supervisors to make sure that this does not apply to them. And they've all said it does not. It's really specific to the fire department. So that's the reason for the ordinance. It's a little cleaner for disciplinary action, which I don't like to use, but I think it needs to be spelled out. The other hours are spelled out. How come part-time really isn't? So that's where I'm at for first reading tonight. Thank you.
Questions from the council on this? Okay, then we'll see this again at our next meeting.
Thank you.
Next ordinance is ordinance 21-06 to amend chapter 74 of the traffic schedule, designated no parking areas. Who wants to take this one?
Chip had asked me to prepare three ordinances. One, to amend chapter 74 of the traffic schedule to designate no parking areas. And specifically, those streets that are being added are Abigail Lane on the no parking, as well as Jackie Court, Nicholas Lane, Rachel Way. And that is it for that particular ordinance.
Okay. Council questions or comments? As this is legislation not having to deal with personnel and or town, I guess, administrative business. Are there comments or questions from the public concerning this ordinance? Amber, do you see any hands raised? Because I can't see everyone.
I don't see any right now.
Okay. Seeing that, we'll move on now to the next, which is ordinance 21-07 to amend chapter 73 of the traffic schedule of maximum speed limits.
And again, this is something that Kip Hetty had asked me to prepare to change that particular schedule in the town code. And so for the benefit of the public, again, this involves only a few streets, but specifically on Abigail Lane, From McNeely to Nicholas, it's going to be 20 miles an hour. If the town council approves this ordinance. The proposal is also for, on Nicholas Lane from end to end will be 20 miles an hour. Rachel Way from end to end will be 20 miles an hour. If the council approves this ordinance at its next meeting.
Comments from the council?
Darla, what was the streets again? I'm sorry.
That's okay. Abigail Lane, from McNeely to Nicholas will be 20 miles an hour. Jackie Court from end to end, I may have missed that one earlier, is 20 miles an hour. Nicholas Lane from end to end is 20 miles per hour. Rachel Way from end to end will be 20 miles per hour.
And do you know what there currently are?
You'd have to ask Kip.
Kip,
All these streets are in Overbrook subdivision, which is off of McNeely Street between McNeely and Meadowlands. This subdivision was started quite a few years ago. There's only very few lots left in that. The streets have already been accepted. It fell through the cracks on signage to be put up in that addition. There's no signage whatsoever, so there was no ordinance whatsoever for this subdivision. So it's basically like we were bringing in a current subdivision like Charlestown Manor. Eventually, whenever we get to that point, we'll be bringing in the schedules for that street or that addition as well. So that's basically what this is all about. I've got signage going up in there right now, and we just need to have the verbiage in our ordinance for these streets.
thanks, Kip.
Kip, forgive me if I'm wrong. Is this consistent with all of our other neighborhood streets or addition streets?
As far as speed, or
20 mile an hour.
okay, all the town, throughout the whole town is basically 20 mile an hour. What streets we've annexed in the last couple of years that are like the counties, they stay at 30 mile an hour for the most part. I think part of Vine Street, it may be 15 mile an hour. That would be from like behind the old Village Inn, maybe all the way to Cell Street. I'm not sure. But for the most part, all of town is 20 mile an hour speed limit.
Well, I knew they varied in some different locations, kind of why I asked the question. Is there a traffic count for any of these streets?
I don't know. I have some traffic counts. I don't know how recent counts I do have.
Okay, if you could just forward them maybe sometime this week if you get a chance.
Okay, I'll give you what I got. I'm getting ready to do some more because I got community crossings coming up, and I got to do some more traffic counts for my community crossings grants coming up in July. So,
And please don't get me wrong, I'm not asking for anything additional, just if we had them.
Okay.
See what this is affecting.
No problem.
Other questions from the council? And for the same reason, this is legislative action. Are there questions from the public? Seeing none, we'll move on now to the next ordinance on first reading, which is ordinance 2021-08 to amend chapter 73, schedule 3.
On the final traffic ordinance, again, we're only talking about a few streets, but if the council approves this ordinance, then on Abigail Lane, which will be a through street, the stop streets will be Jackie Court, Nicholas Lane, and Rachel Way. On McNeely Street, the stop street will be Abigail Lane. And that will be all the changes on that ordinance.
Okay. And Kip, I assume this has just not been codified in ordinance, but physically it sits there already with stop signs, correct?
Yes, they've been with stop signs for several years. We just don't have it in writing.
Okay. Other questions from the council?
Oh, I got one other thing.
Yes, sir.
Whenever parts where Darla said from McNeely to Nicholas, that's not including Abigail from Nicholas to Clover down the Meadowlands. So whenever that phase of Ruby Creek is done, we'll be coming back again to fix Abigail from end to end from McNeely to Clover Drive. So that, just keep that in mind.
All right, thank you. Again, questions from the council? From the public? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to ordinances on second reading. Ordinance on second reading tonight is ordinance 2021-04 to adopt text amendments to ordinance 2014-10, which permitted a planned unit development district for the former Cedar Bluff Gardens property. Rubicon Investment LLC.
Good evening. This is on second reading as it went through Plan Commission for first reading earlier this month. What the petitioner was asking for is to amend the Cedar Bluff PUD. And the way Indiana code handles that, it gets treated essentially as we would do with the text amendment. So this is before you for your approval tonight. The request in itself, currently in Cedar Bluff, there's 2 vacant lots. There's one lot they're considering doing some type of residential use on. They are permitted apartments, multifamily on the second floor and higher for any structure built on the commercial section. They are asking to amend their PUD to allow multifamily on the first floor as well. The total number of units that would be allowed wouldn't change, so this really wouldn't affect the number of units that would go on that piece, just the layout of the building.
Okay. And do they have something scheduled to be built, or are they just trying to broaden their horizon here, I guess, as it were?
They have some preliminary plans. I don't know how far along they are, but definitely they have an idea of what they want to do there.
Okay. Questions from the council? Seeing none, questions or comments from the public concerning this ordinance?
I was gonna say,
back to the-
I couldn't unmute fast enough and you said questions from the council. Was this the one that we all received an email from a Mr. Spoonamore on?
I don't think so. I think that's further down on the old Headley property, as I understand it. I could be wrong, but just from the streets he's describing connecting, I don't think they connect in with this project.
Kevin, are you familiar with what I'm talking about? Because he had said he spoke to you.
I'm not sure. I don't remember getting any emails on the Cedar Bluff PUD. I know we've received a number on the
Woodgate
Ellis
Phase
Ridge
1
subdivision.
is what we said, Woodgate Phase 1. I'm not seeing that on the agenda tonight. Or am I missing it?
No.
No, I think this was, if I remember right, William, that's slated to go before Plan Commission and maybe not to us right away.
Okay, yeah, because this, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much we had mandated, like the city of Bloomington, commercial at the bottom floor, and you can only have residential above that. What they're asking is, hey, they want the flexibility to be able to fill it all with residential if they want to, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
As there were no questions from the public, we're back to the council for some type of action or further comment, as you wish.
I move we approve ordinance 2021-04 to adopt text amendment to ordinance 2014-10, which permitted a planned unit development district for the former Cedar Bluff Gardens property, Rubicon Investment LLC.
Second.
Motion to second. Amber?
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager, Dan Swafford.
Yes.
Okay, that motion
Thank you.
passes. Kevin, do you need anything further on this? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. There is no old business as listed unless someone has something they want to bring up. Likewise, there is no flood report. There is no new business. So we're down to privilege of the floor. Anyone having business for the council that is not part of the normal agenda? Amber, do you see anything? Because I do not.
I do not see anything.
Then we'll move on to supervisor comments, starting with the town manager.
Yes, I would like to mention that Sugar Ridge Timber Company, who we've contracted with to do the clearing for the new maintenance facility. They are currently working next door to us at the Richland Senior Housing Project, and they're going to come in on the backside of our property and do the clearing for us. So that should begin sometime this week or next. We got a lot of chances for rain for the next few days. So, but it will be, they have already set up a staging area and they have equipment on site. So that's going to be happening sooner than later. And as you might know in the news, that American Rescue Plan has been voted for and approved by the Congress. And so there are going to be some seminars and the ability for us, to learn more about what exactly that means for a town like us. There's a list of towns and municipalities that are eligible to receive certain amounts. There's a list for them online. And we are going to Baker and Tilly, who is our accountants, used to be H.J. Umbaugh. They are going to give us a tutorial about all this and tell us about eligible uses and strategies for readiness as we look to whether we should be getting funds and how we would utilize them. So anyway, noon Wednesday, I think that's the 24th, we're going to set up at the council chambers. Amber and I are going to sit in. I think Sandy may sit in remotely, and I know Mike Corman's already signed up. So if any of the board members are interested, give me a call. You can come up and sit in with us, or we can get you an invite. And so other than that, sometime in the near future, I'd like to set up a work session to talk about water, sewer, and specifically storm rates, and talk about being prepared for future needs and how it relates to the revenues that we are now taking in. That's all I have.
If I can just add to that, I mean, a lot of people are going to hear you say that and automatically think they're going to do a rate increase next Tuesday. We're talking 18 months plus out, even if we voted for it several months from now, correct?
With the water, that is correct. We are members of IURC. They'll ask a lot of information from us. OUCC will be involved in working through what we would propose. The first thing to have to do is our accountants, Baker and Tilly, would look into our revenue stream, how much money we're spending, projected revenues in the future, and projected needs. Yes, for the water. The sewer, we could do a little quicker, although we've always used a rate study anytime we talk. So it'd probably be the same process. And then the storm utility, we have a lot of needs of flood remediation on Vine Street. We have a large list of stormwater projects that we can't do because we don't have enough revenue. And so we serve at the pleasure of the board. And so we just need to give you the information, and then we can make a decision on when and if we even want to consider increasing our revenue stream to stay at least even with the continuing problems and upgrades and what have you, maintenance issues that we have with all three utilities.
Right. I just want to make people aware we're not talking about something incredibly near term. So even if we decide to do, it's a ways out.
You're correct, Scott. And by bringing it up now, we haven't had a rate increase in water from 2016. So if we take a year or 2 years to decide what we'll do, we'll be out 7 years. And that's pretty long amount of time to not look into your rates. And the same thing with, we've never had a increase in our storm. And so I'm not proposing that we raise them. I'm proposing that we talk about it. And so we have to be well prepared, well informed to make the correct decisions. And it's time to talk about it.
Okay. Anything else, Mike?
That's all.
Hey, Mike,
Sorry.
when did you say you want to set up this work session to discuss this?
Oh, when the board's ready to. I mean, it can be now, it can be after the 4th of July. I mean, it's just something that I need to bring up. It's my responsibility to keep the board informed, and we need to be prepared for future considerations. And so we don't have to be in a hurry, but we should not just always put it off forever. So sometime next couple months.
Okay, thanks, Mike. And I agree with you. We definitely need to be prepared and, not be in a bind where we have to raise rates or we start going in the hole or something like that. So yeah, any information up front is very helpful. So.
Okay, yeah, and just so everybody knows, we're really in a good place right now with all 3 of our utilities, maybe not storm, but it's just that we have a list of projects that we need to do. We have a list of projects that we said we'd do, and we've done most of them. But as you know, I mean, we had 30 some main breaks this year, and we have several places in town where the water mains are 70, 80 years old. And, you read probably in the paper about the city of Bloomington. They had 4 main breaks in one day. And so we still have a lot of aged water lines in place. So, and sewer lines. And so if we go at it systematically and we do X number one year and X number the next year, and we have a process and a plan, then it dictates we give you that information and say, you say how fast you want to go. You say, well, we think we're in a pretty good place, and we back off a little. So it's just a give and take with information, and then a decision between the department heads and whatever the board wants to do.
Okay. Anything else on this topic? Okay. Are there other supervisors with comments or questions? Chief Corman.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Mr. Petty.
I'm good too.
Mr. Talati.
I don't have anything.
And I don't see Sergeant Davis. Do you have anything from the chief?
Negative. All good.
Okay. Seeing no one there, council comments.
Yes, I just would like to thank the town of Ellettsville and the council for letting the Republican Party have their reorganization meeting the Saturday on the 6th. Went smooth, went great. Thank you. I need to get some keys back.
Okay. Anyone else? Just a quick reminder from me, if you would just be very careful driving throughout the town. Baseball is starting. It's getting warm. There's a lot of kids out. Saw several of them very close to the road today. So just use caution with everybody because summer's getting here quickly, and just make sure everyone's paying attention.
Scott, when is the opening season down there? Do you know?
It's usually, and I don't know this year because frankly my kids have aged out. It's usually toward the 3rd week of April. I don't know what it is this year.
Okay, and that brings up another point. I'm sorry, were you done?
I was, yes.
Okay, and I'm not sure if we mentioned this last time or not, but someone has brought up the fact that we need direction, or they need direction on how to go with the renting of the shelter houses and stuff. So how do you feel we should proceed with that?
Again, I think we're at that stage where personally, I think we're toward the end, or at least hopefully toward the end of where COVID is such a giant concern that we need to stay locked down pretty much everything. But if I remember correctly, we're only at the age 40 and above are eligible for the vaccine at this point. So for my personal standards or personal beliefs, I think we should probably wait at least another month before we start opening up to significant size gatherings that we sometimes see down at the shelter house. But that's me. I don't know what everyone else's tenor is for this.
Well, I've had a couple people contact me. It's the only reason I'm bringing this up. And I think we mentioned this the last meeting and the meeting before, and I really couldn't remember what direction we went with it. So that's the only reason I'm bringing it up, because we are getting the public that's interested in renting the shelter houses. So
what's the opinion of the rest of the council?
Mike, was there a department head meeting over this? I thought I remember that, something about that in the email.
Yes, we did. And at the time of the meeting, we decided it was probably too soon to open up. And at the suggestion of the police chief and the fire chief, we decided to remain closed and not open up the shelter house. I mean, we've had some comments about maybe getting the food trucks back in here, and it was decided it may be too early.
And honestly, Dan, I mean, I know we're talking about it, but I'm not sure it's really under our purview. It should probably fall more under parks.
Okay. Well, and another thing to take in mind with that too, Mike, the people that I've talked to are just wondering to reserve like in August or something. So, you know, I agree we might be too early, but I would love to give someone direction. So you think we need to leave that on parks, Darla, or should we make that decision?
I think it's probably a better idea to let the Parks Board handle it and let them determine the hours and conditions under which they intend to rent the shelter houses.
Okay, I'm fine with that. And I will tell them, I feel sorry for Jimmy, but I'll tell them to contact Jimmy. Or Mike too. You can help them too, I'm sure.
Sure.
Do have one real quick follow-up from a citizen. Kevin, if you can help me out, do we have specific hours of operation for construction equipment listed in code?
I don't know specifically about construction. We just have the quiet hours from, I think, 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., but nothing specific construction related.
Okay, so construction could carry on any day of the week as long as it's not between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. unless we've granted a waiver to that, correct?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on the quiet hours, but as long as it's outside of those, yeah.
Okay. All right. I will make sure that they're informed of that. And one more time around the horn, back to the council. Any comments before we solicit a motion to adjourn? I will entertain that motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Amber, please.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Dan Swafford.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned at 7:28 p.m.
Thank you all very much.
Good night.
Night.